Have you heard the phrase, sitting is the new smoking? Sounds a little bit like health scare clickbait, doesn't it? But if you dig deeper into the science, it's actually a really powerful metaphor because prolonged sitting quietly wrecks your bodies in ways you may not notice until it's too late. And fixing it could literally add years of healthy life. So let's look at why sitting is so dangerous. So your calorie burn drops to your almost resting or sleeping levels almost. Circulation slows, especially in the legs, right, where blood can pool in the veins. Your muscles, particularly the large postural muscles, go quiet. And even enzymes that help break down the fat in your bloodstream are switched off. The result of all this is a cascade of problems: higher blood sugar, elevated triglycerides, creeping rise in blood pressure, among other things. When you spend most of the day sitting still, your body gradually shifts into shutdown mode. Let's look at the science behind the claim. So research have studied millions of people across dozens of countries, and the findings are consistent. Sitting more than 6 to 8 hours a day is linked to significantly higher risk of dying early from any cause, or what medical professionals call all-cause mortality. One large meta-analysis found that people who sat the longest had about a 34 to 35% higher risk of cardiovascular death compared with those that sat the least. And here's the kicker. Even people who exercised regularly weren't fully protected. Exercise is vital, but it doesn't erase the damage of sitting in long, uninterrupted blocks. That's why public health experts reached for the smoking comparison. Not because the harms are identical, smoking is still far more destructive, but sitting is a hidden, socially normalized habit that silently cuts years off of our health spans. It's also worth talking a little bit about blood clots, vessels, metabolism. Let's actually dig a little deeper into what's actually happening inside your body. When you sit still, blood flow in your legs slows down dramatically. This stagnant blood is more likely to clot. It is the same mechanism behind the economy class syndrome, where long flights can trigger dangerous deep vein thrombosis. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For office workers, every day at the desk can look a lot like a long-haul flight. Meanwhile, your muscles become less sensitive to insulin. That means your body has to pump out more insulin to handle the same meal, setting the stage for insulin resistance, prediabetes, and eventually maybe even type 2 diabetes. Prolonged sitting also stiffens arteries and damages the endothelium. That's the delicate kind of Teflon lining in your blood vessels that keeps everything flowing smooth. Over time, this raises the risk of atherosclerosis, the buildup of plaque that leads to heart attacks and strokes. Just as an aside, we actually already have a video on atherosclerosis on this channel. Please check it out here. So some critics of the phrase argue that comparing sitting to smoking exaggerates the risk. And, in absolute terms, they're right. Cigarettes still cause more direct harm and damage almost every organ in the body. But here's the context that I think matters. Less than 15% of adults smoke today, or at least in the US. Nearly everyone sits for hours every single day. So at the population level, the chair is becoming a threat every bit as real as the cigarette once was. If you like these kind of short and sweet videos about wellness and health span, check out some of these other ones. You might like them as well. I'm trying to make things as accessible as possible for as many folks as possible. Let's actually take a minute at looking at practical solutions to long-term sitting as well. Good news is, obviously, it's not a complicated solution. It does take some awareness, though. So just stand up every now and then, right? At least once every 30 minutes, even if it's just for a minute or two. Take a phone call and pace back and forth while you're talking on the phone. If walking meetings are a thing in your working culture, have at least one walking meeting, a day. If you can, use a sit-stand desk, like one that goes up and down, right? That you can break up long blocks of sitting. And also remember, exercise is essential. I think 150 minutes a week of moderate activity is the baseline, but research shows that it's not enough to hit the gym and then spend the rest of the day in the chair. You actually have to break up the sitting itself. I guess coming around, sitting won't kill you in a day. But just like smoking, the damage accumulates silently in your blood vessels, in your metabolism, and in your risk of chronic disease. So treat movement like medicine. Get up, shift positions. Break the streaks of stillness while you're sitting, because your future self will definitely thank you.